my name is Justin with Mecklenburg County Park and Rec. I'd like to welcome you to this edition of How to Sketch.
All right, so today we are going to talk about how to sketch. I'm really happy to share this with you guys because I've always been into art and drew a lot when I was younger, and this is something I really wish I could have grasped early on. So let's get into talking about sketching versus drawing. How I think about it is if you're drawing, you've got, hard committed lines basically that you're trying to capture things and you're just moving along. Problem with this is a lot of times the proportions are wrong or the shape's a little wrong, and you might not catch it until later on, and then you've got to erase so much work that you did already. So what we're going to do instead is we're going to try to capture the shape using light, loose lines. All right, and what this does is it allows us to perfect it over time. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use my artistic eye, and I'm going to look back at this general shape I just drew, and I'm going to say, where can it be more perfect? What needs to happen? I think I could bring this out a little bit, so I'm going to keep drawing very light, loose lines. I'm not concerned initially when pencil first hits paper about how perfect it is, because over time it's going to become more obvious to me through perfecting it where the lines actually need to be. All right, you might could see this starting to take shape a little better to more of a perfect circle. All right. And the more I'm doing that, the darker these areas get. And so when you're really happy with that, you can just press harder, or if you have some artistic pencils like this, you can get a softer lead. And when you see the colors, the shapes, the lines you're really happy with, just come back in and go over them and darken them up. And it doesn't matter how sloppy you were with your earlier lines, because you're only going to keep your dark lines. All right. So now that you've finished that, you can come back with an eraser and clean up little areas that you feel like you can get rid of the light lines so that you can just see what you want to see. All right, so through this process, you're able to capture the shape better. And if you have, an image you're drawing with multiple shapes involved in it, then by getting the whole thing really loose first, it's going to help you to see the proportions before you develop the details too much. All right, so now what I want to do is guide you guys through another drawing, but this time instead of a circle, we're going to draw a guitar. I'm choosing a guitar because there's really a lot of shapes that we can find in it, and I want to help you guys see how you can find the shapes and the things that you're trying to draw. It could be a person or an inanimate object like this, really anything, even landscapes. So let's go ahead and get started. As I'm looking at the guitar, all right, I'm going to go ahead and identify a couple of shapes. I think I see kind of an oval shape. And then the bottom is similar, but it's bigger. All right. And then there's a long, skinny portion here, the neck of the guitar. And you see how loose these lines are. Actually, let me darken up a little bit. You guys might be struggling to see that. I'm really not too concerned about details, the top of the guitar, there's kind of a little rectangle looking thing here, and these lines are pretty wild, and there's some knobs. I can see a little bit on this side. All right, now these aren't actually two circles, it's connected, but it kind of dips in here and then comes back out. So I'm just going to draw that shape where it dips in. And there's a circle in the middle. All right, all these lines are loose, and the reason I'm not doing multiple lines just to do a bunch of lines. Every time I make another stroke, it's because I see an area that it could be better. This needs to get brought out more. So every time I'm making another stroke, I'm bringing it out further so that I can see where it really needs to be. All right. Now, let's try to do that as we're going in to the general shapes here. Let's start perfecting them a little bit. So we're going to go a little bit darker as we guide where it looks like they really need to be. This could come out a little bit. All right, I want this to be 3D too, so I need to make sure that I'm drawing the edges of the guitar. And you know, this takes practice. I think learning how to do letters is a really helpful way to get this concept. Yeah, figure out where the lines disappear and where they pick up. All right. Got some little rectangles within the rectangle here. Long, skinny ones. All right, there's some lines on here. All right. And it's starting to take shape a little bit. Again, every time you notice something that needs to be perfected, you just come back and do a little bit more. I actually think I shouldn't have built out the bottom at all. Let's bring it down over here. And I'm not erasing those lines. It's a good bit, I could erase it, but I'm trying to make a point. All right, so now that you can see the lines a lot better, you can come back and darken up where you're more sure about it. And this is kind of the time to get more into the details. So little nuances of shape, like maybe here it was generally curved, but it actually comes in and comes up. You know, it's a little more detailed. But you were able to find the general shape and the proportions by doing the loose lines. And now when you add your details, you know all that stuff's right. So whatever you find in your house, I suggest that you find something that you can see numerous shapes in to really give you good practice. All right, let's see, we actually have some other shapes down here, don't we? That's where the strings go. We're gonna draw our knobs. So they're kind of like little ovals. All right. And little cylinders connecting. All right. Raise that up a little bit. You really can get as detailed as you want. It just takes more time. I'm trying to get through this relatively quickly for you guys. All right. And just like before, you can come back with an eraser and clean up the lines that you really didn't want there. It was just part of the process of helping you to find where your lines actually needed to be. And I see I made a mistake down there, but I didn't stop and erase it while I was drawing. All right, another thing that sketching does, it allows you to go more quickly and develop your ideas or develop what you see. So if you're always stopping to erase, and then especially if you're pressing hard, you've got lines that are still, you can see them a little bit and they're confusing when you go to change things. So I really think that this is the preferred method. And it just takes practice. The more you do it, the better you get, like anything else.
Well, that's it, guys. I'd like to thank you for joining us. Make sure you hit the subscribe button below. Also, be sure to follow us on Instagram at MECParkRec. And if you keep a lookout, I'm going to also be doing a portrait video, and it's going to help you to understand all the proportions of the face and how to get those details down with some little trick tips. All right, see you later.